Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom and my new studio. Today I'm broadcasting through YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch. And welcome aboard. Those of you that are new to me, please sign in and also subscribe to my channel, and that helps with my rating. Also, if today give me some comments. I've got the chat room on live, so if you have comments or any questions, put those on. Gloria, my wife, is in the studio today.
Welcome, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also the chat room to help out. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're gonna get on a little bit, I say, a little happy scene today. What I'm going to do is when I turn over, I'm going to show you. I'm going to be standing up when I paint, and I'm going to be moving my arms and my hand, not just my hands and wrists, but I'm going to be using my whole body. And you'll see why, because I'm really going to be flowing. I'm going to use a larger format and painting a different scene. So let me go to my overhead camera and let me take you into my material. This is what I'm going to be painting today. This is a bush of roses. Beautiful color, beautiful flowers. One of my favorite flowers, roses. I took this design, but then I go ahead and I drew up what I call a sketch, a design sketch. So this is the format I'm really going to use to paint today. This here, I simplified the photograph a little bit. I took out some of the extra shapes and so forth, and I created my own, because I'm going to be talking about painting rhythm today. Painting rhythm is very important in a painting, and so I'm going to show you how I do that today. And so this is the subject. This will be on my Facebook page or my website, everettswatercolors.com, and you can go to the here. Let me show you where that is. Right here on the screen, you look at my that's my home page on my website. You can see at the top left there. You can see Fun with Watercolors. Now that's where you get a copy of the photograph and a copy of the drawing I'm doing today. And then the broadcast today will be posted on Live Classroom 2023. And I'll be on later on today with Simply Drawing with Everett at 7:30. So those are how you reach me. This is how you can see the things on my broadcast and so forth. So let's go back to my overhead camera. Okay, let me get this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is okay, these are the two items that are on my Fun with Watercolors page right here: the photograph and the drawing that I have for my design drawing. So I'll be using this today to paint from. I'll put that over here. Okay, so I'm going to change the color though. I'm not going to use reds and pinks. I'm going to use yellows. So I'm going to use a yellow background, and I'm going to paint in some design and so forth. And in my my application, I'm going to be using several brushes, but I'm going to be using brush strokes, and I'm going to be moving my arm. Like I said, I'm going to be standing. This is a full sheet of watercolor paper. It measures 32 by, let's see, 32 here, and it's 32 by up here would be 16. So this is a half sheet of watercolor paper, Gemini, 140-pound Gemini watercolor paper. It's archival. So I've already painted in the yellow background, so I wanted to start in a little bit sooner today. So I put in a background here with yellow, and let's go to my my close-up here. And these are the colors I'll be playing with today. Up here, I've got lemon yellow. These are Holbein's artist watercolors. They come in 15 milliliter tubes on my website. Using yellow lemon up here, I got a different palette using today because I wanted to use these washes. Lemon yellow, then I've got permanent yellow deep here, my second yellow. And then I'm using Quinacridone Gold as my third yellow. That's a beautiful, beautiful yellow. It's a darker yellow. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of accent with burnt sienna. So those are the four yellow or darker brown type colors that go together. Then over here, I'm going to be accenting a little bit with Quinacridone Violet on this side, and I got a little bit of Ultramarine blue down here. So let's put those aside for a second. And the brushes I'm going to be using here to start off with, I'm going to be using the Holbein flat brushes. I've got a 1/2 inch flat here, 1/2 inch flat, then I've got a number 6 round brush, and then I've got a 3/4 inch flat brush. Okay, so that's the brushes I'm using. And then later on I'll using the quill or the Hake brush from Silver Brush. This is the medium-sized brush I'll be using today. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. So I'm going to start out by putting in some design work on this. Let me go back to my overhead camera. Okay, so I got the half sheet laid out here. I got the yellow cup. I've got some design work in here already, starting with yellow. Now I'm going to be standing up tall, and what I'm going to do in order to get really get you in the mood, get myself in the mood, I'm going to turn on some music here that'll give me some rhythm. So I'm going to go to let's see. So I'm going to get the music started.
I wish you could see him dancing, everyone.
All right, that was just to get us in the mood, and I'll bring back my other view here. There we are. Okay. All right, so what I'm doing now, using the larger brush here, now I'm going to paint around those objects. I went ahead, and the rhythm I'm looking for is a action along the line that I've drawn here. So the rhythm line is over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw in several lines here. I'm starting out, and I'm picking up a little bit of Quinacridone Gold, a little bit darker color than the yellow lemon. And I'm kind of placing those around different areas. and that gives me a little bit of now you'll notice I try to put a different stroke everywhere I went. Wasn't repeating myself. I was making different things. Now I think what I'll do now is start putting in a little bit of medium color around what I call the main areas. So right now I'm just putting in some color, and I think what I'll do is pick up the bigger brush. And you'll see here, that's why I use this palette here, because I can take this palette now with the Holbein brush, with the silver brush Hake, and I can go in now and put in lots of paint. And I'm varying the paint. I'm going around this area, different places, and I'm starting out with a medium, like a medium value, and then I'll get darker just to show off the impact area in places like that. But I'm just getting some color around different parts of the painting. And we'll talk about the rhythm now is very important in a painting. You want to get something that's moving. You want to get something that's got a little bit of movement and direction, so that the viewer will follow the direction that you're pointing. And we'll get into that a little bit later. I don't want to go through the actual finishing point here until I get to the end, and then we'll talk about the results. And every time you do this, of course, you're going to get a different result. There's no final exam on what it's going to look like. Every time I do one, I get a little bit different result. And I think that's the best part about art, is that you're going to get a variety. You're going to get a variety of things that happen. So here I'm just putting in different values of yellow. Here I'm getting a little bit of yellow deep again, and I'll go back into the Quinacridone. Quinacridone's a little bit darker. It's also a beautiful color. It gives me a little bit of contrast. And then when I put in a little bit of that darker areas, then these areas will start showing up even better. Okay, so I'm using a bigger brush, the Hake brush that covers the area very nicely, and I'm trying to be the only thing I'm being careful around, going around some shapes here that I want to try to maintain. I don't want to cover up some of the shapes. I have some design here that I want to show, but other than that, everything else is just going to happen. It's wet on wet. You got different colors mixing together on the paper. So you have very little control over that, which is great. You don't want a lot of control sometimes. You just want to let the paint flow. And I think loosening up with a painting, also having a little bit of music in the background. I have music all the time, usually when I'm painting by myself in the studio, and it gets me in the mood. Also gives me things to think about. And maybe it gives me an idea. Sometimes I get an idea, listen to the music. The rhythm is sometimes helpful in deciding, if you want to go something really heavy or something light or something fast or something slow, and then you can play music that'll get you in that mood. So painting a mood and painting a rhythm is very important in a painting. So today I thought I would just go ahead and loosen up here and show you a little bit of the way I would paint this particular scene. I took this photograph and then modified it a little bit to put the shapes where I wanted to paint them. And I used some of the shapes, but then I changed some of them so it would give me a better shape or a better continuity of what I wanted to do. And we'll go over that a little bit more when I finish up here. We're going to go along with this painting as far as I can go here today, but there is no end to it, because you can come back. I can do this a little bit today, and then I can let it dry, and then come back tomorrow and work on it some more. So it's really one of those kind of paintings which you can continue to work on. You don't have to finish it you know, in 30 minutes or in 40 minutes. You can let it sit and then come back to it another day and get the paintbrushes out and then continue to work on it. So you may, you know, get you started. This is a good start for any kind of a painting, to get a nice background started and then work on a design, a flow. So now I'm going to let this dry a little bit now, because I'll be going back in with a little bit darker paint, but I want to get enough color out here and a little variety. And you'll notice I'm going in. Now I'm going a little bit more of the Quinacridone Violet. No, excuse me, Quinacridone Gold. Violet is the darker purple, so I don't want to use that quite yet. So I'm putting in a little bit of Quinacridone Gold here to give me some darker areas. And I could use also, I've used spray bottles this way too. I'll use a spray bottle and I'll go in and spray around with different spray bottle techniques, getting me of a dot spray or a fine mist spray, and I can mix color that way. So that's another way I could paint this sort of scene. But I wanted to just go ahead and paint with the brushes. Here I'm using a Hake brush, which gives me a lot of variety. Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and dry this now because it's pretty wet. So then I'll dry it and I'll come back and I'll put in some of the darker areas. So let me put that aside, and let me get the blow dryer. Okay, it's pretty wet, so it might take a little bit more time, but we'll go ahead and just turn it on. I could turn the music on, but I think I'll leave it off. I can talk over the dryer while it's blowing. So what I did before the show, I did a light wash with the yellow lemon and got a base coat of yellow down. That's where I started. And let it dry. I wanted a dry painting when I started out. And those were the colors of mainly light colors of the flowers I wanted to capture. Okay, now I had another mixture of different yellows. Permanent Yellow Deep, and I have Quinacridone Gold, and those were darker yellows. And those will give me a little bit of medium value, a little bit of variety. Now I just didn't have to dry all the way. I just wanted to get enough of the moisture off the paper. I can leave it a little bit half wet. Doesn't have to be perfectly dry. But the drier you make it, the more the paint will stay where it is. Okay. All right. So it's still a little damp, and that's okay. It's not going to bother me at all. Now I'm going to take the 3/4 inch brush, and I've got on my palette over here, I've got this is burnt sienna, and that's a lot darker. Okay, so I'm going to use that now to go in, and I'm going to start designing the lights and darks against each other. So I'm going to use the burnt sienna here. So I'm going to show a little bit of the section here. This is going to slow down because I'm going to be very careful going around the petals and so forth. But I'm using the edge. I'm using the corner of the brush, the edge of the brush, and controlling the edge of the design here. So I'm really going in and I'm really cutting out the shape of that. It's a flower. I could just say no, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter any different. But it's a rose, a yellow rose. It could be a yellow daffodil. It could be anything. And I can leave some of the loose paper alone. That's, you know, there's always background. And so now I like, this is the fun part. I like to go in now and finish off my design with a little bit of contrast This burnt sienna now is darker than the yellow, so it's going to make the edges really pop out. And that's what I was waiting for. And in some areas around this, this might be the focal point here. I might put in even some darker colors, especially with the Quinacridone Violet, and that will really make things come a lot darker. But I'm starting out with a dark color now, darker than what's there. And so, and there's some stems here. I'm going to leave some stems showing up to these flowers. So I'm going to leave some of the paper the original color and not paint over it, but leave some of the shapes there, showing a possible stem. And I'll come down here to this section. So I think I'm going to choose this as my impact area. I think this is the area that has a lot more shapes to it and more interesting. So I'm really going to spend a lot more time right here. So you can see it. The paint's a little bit thicker now. It's about a medium texture of water and paint. The consistency of probably it's not quite cream. It's not quite that heavy, but I've got it probably the texture of milk as far as the amount of water in the brush and so forth. So the paint's a lot thicker, and so it doesn't spread when if I even hit a damp area, it's not going to bother me. I've got a long stem on this. I got a long stem here. I'll leave that out. So I drew a few pencil lines in here to give me some guidance here of my design. I did my design, and I put in some pencil lines for guidelines, so I wouldn't cover them up too much. If I didn't do that, it would just be a real guess at where things are, and sometimes that's more fun too. Just you might come out with a different design, and that's great. There's really no right way or wrong way to do something. There's lots of variety you can do. Some days you feel like having more control. Other days you just let it flow. So I'm going to really concentrate on this section down here, and then just to show you how it's done, or how I do it. Remember, I'm just demonstrating how I would do it. That's not necessarily the way everybody would do it. Some other artists would do it a different way. That's fine. And if you try it, put it on my you can put it on my Facebook page, Everett's Watercolors Art Group, on my Facebook page, which the link will be in the video description today. And if you want to paste or post your painting on there and let me take a look at it, that'd be fine. I'd really appreciate that. I would enjoy that. Okay. So now we're starting to shape up the shape. Now I'll get one more over here, and you can start to see the flower groups starting to pop out. And so this just gets us started over here. And you can make these as detailed as you want. You don't want to make anything really that perfect. I think the more abstract you make it, sometimes the better off it is. It should just indicate possibly, oh, that looks like, and that's usually close enough. It looks like, it could be, and then you're there. It doesn't have to be a perfect example or a perfect copy of the photograph. It can just be a likeness. The photograph is just one example of a model to follow. It just gives you an idea. It gives you a little bit of idea. Now here, see, it's a little bit damp over, but that's okay. I'll just go ahead and continue on. I just want to go on around this. And even a little blossom over here doesn't bother me. Okay. So again, I'm defining now. I'm defining the edges of some of these flowers. The more important ones here is what I'm looking on. I'm working on these. And as you'll see, as I get further away from this area, I'll get less and less detailed. But this is my detail area here, so I want to start here to cut out these edges. And then as I go further away, it'll be less and less defined, or not necessarily defined, less and less defined, but I won't be as careful, or I'll be less prone to stay there very long. I just want to get it covered. But I want to show you the path I'm making here for the rhythm, and that's really the message today, is to build rhythm in a painting. And so whatever you do, or whatever subject matter you use, it should have some rhythm in it, some motion, movement, and that's what rhythm is: motion, rhythm, motion and rhythm and movement in your painting. Okay. Try to keep my head out of the way. Didn't want to block the view. So these are stems. I'm leaving some stems showing to show the connection of the flower with the stems. I'll leave those showing, and then the edges of the flowers are kind of they're not. Some of them are smooth, some are rough, some are ruffled. That's the nice thing about flowers. They can be very, you can go very abstract with flowers and just get a basic shape and a basic color, and then it looks like a flower. Okay. Now what I'm doing is, you can see here the rhythm I'm picking up here. This flower arrangement goes around this way and moves up to the right, upper right side. That's what I was trying to pick up. So the rhythm or the direction that I'm trying to pull your eye into is from this area on up to the right, and that's the whole purpose of painting the shapes. And a direction I have them painted is to have you look at what I'm painting and give you a direction to follow. So I was going to show you, I could show you a painting. Of course, you probably have seen it before. I was going to show you a painting. I forgot to bring that up. I'll show that after I finish this up a little bit more. So I'm just dabbing away here. I'm really enjoying this. I really enjoy this part of the painting. Now I'll go up here a little bit faster now. All I need is I'm further out away from the action line, so here I can go a little bit faster and loosen up the paint a little bit more, so get the flow. I'm leaving some of the stems in so that they have a connection with the blossoms. So I made those. I didn't make them up, but I used some of those stems that were in the photograph, but then I added a little bit more to it so it would connect better. So some of the stems were added on to connect some of the blossoms. And I eliminated some of the blossoms. If you look at the photograph of my drawing, you'll see I eliminated a few of the blossoms because they didn't really add to the painting. They didn't add to my message. And I really didn't need to show them all. I just wanted to show enough of them. Okay. All right. Apologize for the head. Didn't mean to get in the way. You don't want to look at my head. You want to look at the painting. I guess I got to put a a fence on that thing so that when I get up there, it'll hit me in the head and remind me. Okay. So the last little flower up here, you can see here now, it takes me out to the side. It comes in, up, around, and then I'm going to bring you back in. I'm going to bring you back into the beginning again. So it takes you out to this side. And then I bring you down over here. So maybe you'll see maybe you'll see my rationale here. You'll see the reason I did this is you'll see maybe a direction that I pointed. And you know, if you take the photograph or any photograph and you come up with your own plan, you know, have a plan, have a scheme, have a reason for why you did something, have a reason for why you changed the shape, or why you added a shape. And everybody has their own thoughts, and everybody has their own little idea of what they want to paint and how they want to paint it, and that's great. That's why art is so interesting, because everybody, and some of my classes that I've had over the years, we'd have a painting of something, and no matter what, it was a landscape, a flower, even still life, or even a group of people, whatever the subject was, I'd have a painting and a beginning sketch, and every painting in the class was different. Every painting was different, and that's what I like. I love that. I love that situation where everybody, you can paint the same subject, but everybody has a way of painting, a choice of colors, really a choice of values. So it really makes quite a difference. Not necessarily how someone else painted, but how you would paint it. And you don't paint the same way every day. Every day you pick up the brush and you paint a different way. Okay, now I'm getting down here to the outsides now. And I can begin to pick up a bigger brush again. Let me go back to my Hake. You notice I really like the Hake. The Hake brush really covers the area. Now I'm changing the paint now. I'm going from yellow, and I'm going to pick up more of the burnt sienna with the Hake. Okay. And I'm going to add a little more water to this because I don't want it to be as dark as the center part. I want it to be a little bit lighter, so I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. So by just adding water to the brush, it's going to lighten up the value of the paint in the brush. So I'm adding more water to the brush now, making it more watery. And if I get blossoms, I don't have a problem with that because that gives me more texture in the painting. And right there you see the water flowing on the paint, on the paper. And some of these outside little areas, they may be toned down at the very end, but right now I'll leave them alone until I'm finished, until I'm to the point where I want to go over everything. And now I'm filling in the empty blocks, the spaces, picking up some more of that burnt sienna, and watering it down to make it a little bit lighter, because I don't want it as dark as the center part. The center part is going to be where I want the eye to go. More contrast in toward the center, and the outskirts here is going to be a little bit lighter. So I'll pick up the Hake brush, put lots of water in the brush, and I'm painting away, covering up the edges, going around these other areas just very quickly, filling in some of the negative space. You know, negative space in the painting is just as important as a positive space. The positive space here is the flowers. The negative space is what goes around them. So the negative space is very important also. The shapes, the sizes, the value, it all counts. So my negative space is a different size than the positive space. That's one good thing. There's a lot more negative space than there is positive space. The space of the flowers takes up a lot less room than the space of the part I'm painting right now. I'm painting a negative space. So I'm trying to connect all these values together now. So we're moving right along. I think we're almost to the point here where I got most of the paint down that I want. I'm going to start adding some accents in after I get to this point. And the accents will start bringing the flowers alive. Right now I just got the shapes in. I just got the shapes, I got the colors in. But then I want to put in the accents, which will bring bring those items alive. Accents are just like when you're speaking. You have certain ways of saying things, and if you want to make a point, you change your voice. You make it a little bit louder, possibly a little more emphasis somewhere, or you slow down so people can understand you and hear you. And other times you go quickly because you just want to get through something very quickly and not say too much about it. The slower you go, the more time you have to explain and move on. Okay, I'll go down here. Leave those stems showing at the bottom. They're okay. All right. I have one little space here I'd pick up. Okay, so I've got some a little bit of cleanup to do here around some of these major flowers, and that's the job of the smaller brush and the job of the darker paint. When I get around that, you'll see what I mean. But I got most of the paper covered now. So at this point, the direction of flow, the direction of rhythm, I got it. If you look at the painting, I'm coming in here from the left corner, going through this section, over here. Your eye brings you up over here, down to here, then it drops you back down. See, I don't let you get away, and I'm going to knock that one down. So it comes down, it drops you down, and you begin another trip. This one here, because this will be darker, it'll bring you back in this area. So I got the rhythm here, got the rhythm. I can come back, go forward, around, in and out. Okay, so that's where the rhythm is. Let's see. I can pick up. Covered up one flower over here. I'll pick it up. All I got to do now is a flower. I take a Kleenex and I wipe up the wet paint, and I can recover that little area. It's not an important area, but just to show you, if I cover something up before it gets dry, I just pick it up. Or if you make a mistake, pick it up. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to blow dry this one more. I'm going to blow dry this a little bit around the areas I'm going to work on. So let me get the blow dryer out. Oh, here we go. I'm going to dry out this area here, which I'm going to get back in with darker paint. And the rest of it can just dry on its own. I'm not really worried about it. I just hit some of the edges around here and there. Now we'll turn it up a little bit. So what I've done is, after I got the yellow flowers in, and I got the design around the flowers with a medium color, then I went in and started filling in the negative space. And the negative space went all the way around the edges, and it wasn't as dark as this area here. I wanted to be a little bit lighter on the outside edges, because I want the concentration to be here in this section right here. So this will be my area of emphasis in this section, which will be darker than the rest of the painting. Now the water is pooling a little bit over here, so what I can do is wipe up the excess water. And if I had to, I could just lean it up. I could put the paper up on edge Just let it run down a little bit, get the excess water off, moisture off, and then put the paper back on the board. And let me dry a little bit more, because I'm going to be working this area here. I need this to be really. This up here I don't care about. Down here I don't need it nice and dry. Okay. Actually, when I'm painting in my studio by myself, I just walk away and let it dry by itself. I'd rather have it dry naturally. It doesn't necessarily come out any better, but I don't use the blow dryer when I'm painting by myself. I just let it dry naturally. So I'll walk away from it for 20 or 30 minutes and then come back when it's drier. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take.
Joel said bravo.
Thank you. It's coming along. I'm not quite finished. I'm really going to put the emphasis now on some of these flowers. So what I'm going to do now, I got a smaller brush. I got the 1/2 inch flat. I'll start with that, and I might use the number 6 round also. I got the number 6 round. So I'm going to go in now and put a little more design, a little more definition in some of these flowers. So on this one here, I'm going to put a little more definition, maybe some curls. Okay, but you're gonna notice that when I do this, that every time I touch a flower, I'm gonna do a different shape. They're not gonna look the same. And usually when you're painting with a paintbrush, you can't make it the same. It doesn't matter. It's going to come out different anyway. Now this one here is kind of in the background, but that's fine. I like that. And I'm going to do this one I'll use a number 6 round now. So I have a little smaller brush, and I'm going to make a couple. I'm going to make this one a little bit different looking. This has some leaves that overlap, and I'll leave that like that. And I'm going to do another one over here like that, but it's going to be slightly different, a little larger. And, okay, this one here. This one overlaps this flower here. This one over here in the middle gets covered up with these other larger flowers. And I'm going to put some petals on this one, kind of bring it out a little bit. You know, and flowers, I've noticed there's different edges. You got smooth edges, you got round edges, you got rough edges. So there's all kinds of edges you can put on a flower to make it look like a flower. You don't have to be so perfect on how it goes. You can I'm just going to put a mark in there. It could be a shadow. So this one over here I'm going to put in. And the faster you put your mark in, the better it is. Don't think about it too much. Just go in and do a brush stroke that covers the area and gives it a feeling. Now this one here, these little buds, I made a couple little buds here I thought were interesting here. This would be like a rosebud, so I'm going to bring this one in. Now I'm using burnt sienna to do a flower, but it's okay. You can use any color you want. I just thought yellow and browns, and I'm going to put some Quinacridone Violet here in a second to really get some darks. So I got a couple of buds here I like to put in. This one over here, and I don't want the buds to be the same. So this one's going to have a different shape.
Did you mean Quinacridone Gold?
Quinacridone. Well, I use Quinacridone Gold. I'm going to use Quinacridone Violet in a minute.
Oh.
I will in a minute. Yeah, I will in a minute. Okay. Now as I get further away, I'm going to get less and less defined because this is the most important area down here. Just I'm going to make a lighter color. In fact, this bud up here now is just it's a bud, but I'm going to make it a lot lighter color. Okay. And then out here, I'm just going to hit a couple brush strokes out here, make it different. And over here, kind of maybe hit the center of the flower a little bit, and then maybe the edge of the flower somewhere. And these sections out here, they get no attention at all because they're so far out. They're so far out it doesn't matter. Okay. All right. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in my Quinacridone Violet. Now we know violet and yellow are complements, so that's why I'm choosing Quinacridone Violet. And I have on my palette I have Quinacridone Violet right down here, right in this corner here. So I'm mixing up. I'm going to use the 1/2-inch brush, and I'm going to go in now, and I'm really going to pull these. I'm really going to make these. This section here is going to be the darkest. So right next to the petal is going to be the darkest color, right next to the petal. And as I go away, from the petal, I'm using the 3/4-inch brush. I go away. This is the wet. I just have basically water on this now. I'm going to fade that edge off. Give it a soft edge. Now come down here one more time with Quinacridone Gold, or Quinacridone Violet, excuse me. I'm using Quinacridone Gold for the darker yellow, but I'm using Quinacridone Violet to give me a contrast. And I'm using the damp brush, the 3/4-inch brush to soften up the edge, make it a lost edge, soft edges and hard edges. So really, the hard edge is the hard edge of the flower. The soft edge is going to be what's in between. So this brush is full of water, so I'm just taking this and I'm going to blend out the color. Just blend it out. Now you know there's background leaves. I'm not painting any leaves. You're just going to imagine the leaf section behind. This brown is all foliage. Could be leaves, could be anything in the background. Most of them are leaves in the background. Just leave them alone. Okay, I'm going to do one more section I like to do it. That's this one over here. I think I'll put this bottom section on here. Anyway, every time you paint something like this, you paint it a different way. Depends on what you see, depends on what you like going on. You have to look at the painting and let the painting tell you what you should do. It'll talk to you. It'll say, oh, do I have to make that darker or make that lighter? Do I want to make that more interesting or less? So you let the painting talk to you. So I want to make this area a little bit darker down here, right around this section, and then I'll lighten it up as I go out. Okay. And I can go one more step. I'm just going to take this a little ways, and now you'll see the results. As I said, you could spend several days on this, going back and adding more and more detail, add more and more contrast. So it's kind of I could say it's a never-ending process, but you stop at one point when you say, "Oh, that's enough." And what I'm trying to do now is just show what rhythm in a painting is, and I'm showing you how I would paint this particular type of subject. And I'm using the colors could be changed. I can make them reds and oranges. And what I like to do out here is take that brush of burnt sienna and just kind of go back here and just do some wild brush strokes, and they can be the background leaves and so forth. And that's all you have to do. Just make a little texture back there. That's all I'm showing. A little bit of texture. Okay, I can work a little bit more. I think I'll just keep on going. I got a little more time. I can show some more. Actually, it's going to be a little less. I'm still going to put some darks up in here, in this section, because I want to emphasize this rhythm path I have. So I'm going to have you lead your eye through the painting with the contrast of the darks and lights. So it shows the rhythm of the painting. It also shows the pathway. It shows the movement of the painting. It shows my intention for having you follow the pathway. And then I take a wet brush and I start outside. Put a little bit of burnt sand on just a little bit of burnt sand on the brush, but mostly water, and then blend in that outside edge. Take away that hard edge. And out here can be brush strokes. It looks like leaves and so forth, which is fine. So this is a half sheet of watercolor paper, so it's a pretty big sheet to play with. But it's good to show a large painting like this where you have lots of room, and you'll notice that it's large brush strokes, full hand arm movement. I'm moving the elbow, shoulders. The whole body is involved. The whole body is involved. Okay, not just the fingers. As I come into this section, maybe I'll make that contrast a little darker. I can choose what I want. I can make it darker here, past this little bud, and I can break that up a little bit. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to stop there. I've got a couple things I want to show you before I close up shop today. But basically, what I want, I could just keep adding more contrast in here and get it darker and darker and have these things show. But the rhythm here I have is the flow from this side on around, up, back over here, okay? And I would just keep adding a little more contrast around these flowers to bring you into that move. It will bring you back to here and take you back, or they go on around up the other way. So that's kind of the rhythm. These outside flowers are not important at all. They can be toned down very quickly. I can take a little bit of I'll take a little bit of Quinacridone Gold. Just take a little bit of gold, a little bit of darker yellow, and I can, this one out here, for example, just hit it down, knock it down just a little bit, knock off some of the bright light. This one down here, same way, just kind of knock it down. So that takes out the competition with the lights and darks here in the center. Just knock it down a little bit. And then you start out slow. You don't do it all at one motion. You do one application, then you go back into it. Maybe after it dries, go back in and look at it again, and you might want to knock it down some more. So you don't do it all at one time. It's not a one-step process. It's several steps. You know, gradually build your painting and gradually take things away, and reducing the light areas. Okay. Well, let me put this aside. I want to show you a couple of things first before we go. I'm sure everybody has seen this painting, as Van Gogh, of Starry Night. But this is an example of a rhythm, flowing. And I think this is one that you probably would notice right away, is the brush strokes and the movement of the colors and so forth in the sky. That's probably a famous painting everybody knows, and this is an example of painting rhythm. A little bit over the top, but it sure is effective. Very famous painting, very popular painting. A lot of people have copies of this. You show that? Okay. Now here's one I practiced the brush strokes here. I was outdoors and I was practicing on location. And this I made it really dark with a little bit of light showing. So I did it the opposite way. Instead of putting lights in there and putting dark, I put a lot of darks and very little light. And I put a lot of branches in there so that this is more branch oriented of a tree or so forth, or a bush. So that was an example there. Now here's one I did with just to look like a bunch of flowers. I start out, and you can go in and do negative painting again. You can go and make branches, make the twigs and so forth in there. Okay. But let me show you. Last thing I want to show you is the main camera. This painting over here. This is the one I did for practice. Over here on the right, over here on the podium here, or on the easel. And you can see here, this is one I spent a little more time on. But it's the same painting I did here today for demonstration. And you can see the flow takes you up, around, and on, and brings you back. And that's the flow of the painting. Okay. And I'll bring it over to the tabletop. If you want to see it up closer. Up close. Okay. So there's the painting I just showed you up on the easel, and I was talking about the flow from down here going around. It's the same setup I did on the painting today, but I built up a little more darks up here on this side, and I knocked down all the edges on the over here. But I kept all the darks here in the center, and you can see some of the flowers I dulled out here in the center here also, because these other ones overlap. These flowers here overlap these flowers here, so I emphasized that by making a different value, lights and darks here. Okay, and the branches also take you around. Okay, all right. So that's my. Let's go back to my main camera. So that's the end of today's session today of painting rhythm in watercolor, and I use flowers as an example. And so appreciate you looking in, and I think you can give me some comments or some questions. And also try this out. Get yourself a sheet of paper, a large sheet, the larger the better, and choose your colors you're going to do, and maybe a subject matter, flowers or landscapes or whatever, and paint the flow. What makes you move? It could be the sunlight. It could be the path of light coming through the trees. It could be the shine coming through a window. There could be a lot of things you can paint, or a still life. You could come up with something, a set of jewelry or a set of china or something, or vegetables in a fruit bowl or something. So there's all kinds of things you can get the flow going. I was trying to show you the mood you get in when you put a little bit of music on, and you can get around and do a little bit of a little bit extra rhythm. You can I could have done a little splatter. I could have used a spray bottle. There's all kinds. I could have maybe shown a little bit more. But you don't want to get too carried away when you're trying to come up with a painting that will make some sense. So I hope you enjoyed today, and please subscribe to my channel, and give me a thumbs up and give me some questions. And I'll be on later on today at 7:30 p.m. with Simply Drawing with Everett. So I hope I see you then too. So until next week, I'll be back Thursday at 2 o'clock and also 7:30 next Thursday, Eastern Standard Time. So until then, you stay safe, and bye.